Hello, everybody. So I have read the encounter between the patient and the provider, and the way that I would describe it would be as very brief. And even though it's a very quick interaction between the two of them, I think it's too fast and it's very one-sided on the side of the doctor, because the provider is asking all the questions but isn't allowing the patient to fully answer. When she tries to answer the question, the provider keeps interrupting and going on to the next question, assuming he knows the complete answer. Um, the provider's approach for diagnosis and treatment, I think it's too fast, and it shows very little respect for the patient's information that she's trying to provide. And I think that would lead to barriers between them for them to develop an interpersonal relationship. Um, so that's not a positive thing, a positive outcome for the patient for sure. Um, the nonverbal behavior that's going on here, I think, is a lack of empathy on the side of the provider. Uh, be una- Being unable to put themselves in the patient's shoes. The fact that she's not feeling well, that she's in an environment that is not very comforting. It states that the room is cold. She's there in a very thin gown and her underwear. And then on top of that, the provider just barges in without knocking. So I think that all this would be a combination of leaving the patient feeling unheard, disrespected, dehumanized, with an attitude of feeling that devalued, really, because she's being seen as just another number, another patient, rather than a human being that has an issue, and the provider has within his hands to make her feel better or treat her in a better way. Um, the examples of the provider's communication behavior is that he just keeps interrupting her, um, not allowing her again to finish her sentences, and allowing her to give her input, or just disregarding whatever input she's thinking. And then the physical environment of the room, like I said, it's cold, and she had to wait there for quite some time, especially that time probably feels longer when you're not feeling well. Um, the the recommendations I would give in this scenario would definitely slow down, and allow the patient to become a partner, um, part of the team in their own wellness and treatment. Definitely become an active listener. I think listening is very important, and stop assuming. The doctor actually suggests for the patient to take it easy on the fried and greasy foods, but he never asked about her diet. What does she eat? He said, stay away from aspirin, assuming she might take it. Um, but really, he even asked if she has any questions, but doesn't allow for an answer if there's a question. He just goes on with his instructions that are just assumptions. So again, he rushes out. You need to slow down. When you're going into a room, I would definitely knock. Just out of, not even in a healthcare environment, but in any scenario, if you know that it's a closed door, you're going to knock before entering. And also, the it doesn't specify if the provider is a female or a male, but especially if you're a male, I would recommend having an assistant in the room, because the patient is sitting in there in her robe and underwear, and he's lifting it. He or she is lifting it. So I think, just to make the patient feel more comfortable, I think that would be a good point to do. Part two is my reflection on an experience that I have had. And I actually had an experience like this where I went to the doctor and I went for just a regular checkup to treat a chronic condition that I have. But I also had a new thing, a new symptom that was going on, and I wanted to address it. So the doctor that I saw was a new doctor, not my regular doctor, and she was very quick and just wanted to prescribe my regular medication, and I wanted to bring up the new symptom and discuss it and kind of like figure out what it was, and she just ignored it. She ignored it and said, look, I'm just going to write the prescription, you can pick it up. And she didn't even give me time to insist on talking about my new symptom. So she just walked out of the room and she never came back. And I was there waiting, expecting her to come back. She never did. So that really made me feel like, I'm guessing this patient must have felt very disregarded as just another number, another patient. Let's move on to the next. I did not feel like a human being at that point. I felt devalued, and not heard and not really cared for. And the way that I resolved it was that I never saw that provider again. And that's usually the way that I handle things. Like, for example, when I get bad service at a restaurant, I don't call the manager and complain. I just simply don't go back. And in this case, same thing. I have no interest in calling and putting a complaint on the doctor, although it might help, maybe just to make her aware, or just have her, somebody above her bring it up to her and say, hey, this is what we've heard. But I just simply did not go back to that provider. And so that's my reflection of an experience that I've had. So I thank you, and you have a good evening. Thank you. Bye-bye.